Hello guys, and welcome to my first ever official devlog, and in this video I'm going to showcase some of the features I have started or completed in my game. Alright guys, before we get into the actual content, I just want to talk about my project for a minute here, and I will leave a timestamp on screen if you want to skip this bit, but this is just me introducing the project and what it's all about. Nephilim is a third-person dark fantasy action RPG. The inspiration to make this game stems from some of my favorite entertainment titles of the past, whether it be animated series or video game. The overall feel of the game will definitely have more of a darker tone. The game will be heavily story focused, but I hope to include multiplayer elements such as PvP and co-op gameplay. I don't want to give away too many details because that would warrant a video all on its own, so for now let's move on with this video. So starting out first, a lot of my time in development was spent on focusing making the player move around and setting up the camera. So as you can see here, I have a fully completed locomotion system that allows my player to walk, run, and sprint. Performing any action that requires stamina causes the stamina bar to drain. Upon the stamina being drained, you will see a yellow bar appear behind the green bar showcasing how much stamina you lost performing this action. The yellow bar that shows you how much stamina you've drained performing an action will also show you how much health you've lost if you take damage. Next up is the backstep. If you hit the dodge button while not moving, you will perform a backstep. But if you move and perform the dodge button, you will roll in the direction you are moving. Both rolling and backstepping drain your character's stamina depending on the weight of the equipment your character is wearing. Next up we have looting items. I won't go too far into this because I want to give this and the player UI its own video, but you can loot them and you can equip stuff via the equipment screen. As you can see here, I have a straight sword equipped and a shield. You are able to see the straight sword's item type, its weight, its special ability, and the cost to perform that special ability. You are also able to see the requirements needed to wield this item, as well as its damage output, which is split into physical, magic, fire, dark, and lightning, but more on that later. Much of the combat has already been completed. As you can see here, there are weapon combos and attacks that chain into one another. Here you see a light attack chaining into a light attack. Each attack also has a stamina cost to perform, which is shown up in the top when I attack. If the player tries to perform an attack without any stamina, you will be unable to perform that attack. You are also able to chain light attacks into heavy attacks, as shown here. It's also worth noting that if the player tries to perform a roll, sprint, or backstep without any stamina, you will be unable to. Next we'll look at some of the other attacks that we have completed and placed in the game. Next up is the running attack. To perform this attack, you have to sprint and then hit the light attack button. It's also worth noting that each individual attack type has its own stamina value that it drains and its own damage value. Next up is the rolling attack. This is performed by rolling and then tapping the light attack button just as you exit the roll. Next up is the jumping attack. And next we have two-handing. Every attack that you can perform with one hand, you can also perform with two hands, and they will have their own unique animation variants. Here we showcase the two-hand light attacks. And here we showcase the two-handed light attack going into a heavy attack. As you may have noticed too, there are some small elements of polish, such as the particle effects on the sword as you swing, and your shield or secondary weapon equipping to your back as you two-hand. Next, damaging players and enemies. Now you may have noticed the enemy on the left is equipped with armor, and the enemy on the right is not. Let's see what happens when we damage the enemy on the right and then the enemy on the left. As you can see, the HP bar shows, as well as the damage we've done. And the enemy is able to die and will become unlocked. Now if we attack the enemy on the left, who is armored, notice our damage. It is about 23% less than the damage we did on the enemy to the right. This is because damage is calculated after calculating the player or enemy's damage absorption, as well as their damage defense. This player's armor gave him roughly 23% damage absorption, which means roughly 23% of the physical damage was negated. Right now this project has 5 types of damage: physical, magic, fire, dark, and lightning. Each of these damages will be given their own damage absorption and defense rate. So if an attack is registered, your armor has its own physical defense, magic defense, fire defense, dark defense, and lightning defense. You also have flat defenses based on the stats of your character, which add to your damage absorption. So a player wearing armor of the physical defense that grants him 23% immunity to physical attacks will take 23% less damage when attacked via physical attack. If a magic attack hits the player, then that damage is of type magic. This will have to factor in the player's magic defense absorption. If a fire attack hits the player, this is a fire attack, so this will factor in the player's fire damage absorption, and so on and so on. Weapons or attacks can have multiple damage types simultaneously. For example, a straight sword can do physical damage and fire damage if it has a fire damage effect on it. As you can see here, blocking attacks with a shield that does 100% physical damage absorption causes the enemy not to be damaged. So if I swing my sword at the front of the shield like this, I will do no damage to the enemy. However, if I walk around behind the enemy where the shield is not present and I hit him, you will see that the damage is calculated as normal. All shields in the game have a stat called deflection rate, and all weapons in the game have a stat called deflection resistance. If the deflection resistance is higher than the deflection rate, your player will attack the shield normally. However, if it is lower, your player will recoil and bounce off of the shield. Weapons that are two-handed will never bounce off of a shield. As you can see in this example, the player is attacking an opponent with a great shield. When he strikes the shield with a longsword one-handed, the sword bounces off and he recoils. However, when he two-hands the longsword, he's able to strike the shield normally. I also did some work on consumables, specifically bombs. Here you can see me throwing bombs at a target. The bomb's direction depends on where the camera is pointing, so meaning if I tilt the camera up more, the player will arc the bomb throw up more. If I tilt it down more, the player will arc the bomb throw down more. Here you can see me throwing bombs at a target, hitting different parts of the target depending on where I'm tilting the camera. There is a fixed number of bombs in your inventory, and as you throw them, they do drain. Upon reaching 0, the item will unequip and delete itself. And finally, the lock-on system. Hitting the lock-on button will find the target closest to you and lock onto it. If you tap the left stick, you'll find the target that is the shortest distance from the left of you. Tapping the left stick again will go to the next target that is the shortest distance from the left of you, and so on. Tapping the stick right has the same effect in the right direction. Well guys, that really only scratches the surface of what I have to show you, and I'm really excited to show you more in the next video. I have a lot of stuff done with the UI and the character creation screen that I have not shown on this video. In-game right now, you're able to fully equip and unequip all armor types of helmet, chest, legs, and hands. You're also able to equip weapons in the left and right hand slots, cycling from weapon 1, 2, 3, 4 in the right hand and 1, 2, 3, 4 in the left hand. The player also has 8 quick item slots you are able to use and cycle through. And lastly, the player has 4 ring slots you are able to equip rings on with added effects to the player depending on the ring. I'll showcase all this and more in the next video. If you made it this far, please drop a like. It does help appease the YouTube algorithm gods. And leave a comment down below. Tell me what you'd like to see in the project coming up. And if you're really feeling generous, you can check out my Patreon and support the project and my ongoing tutorial series there. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks to Hector, Nico, Simon, Steven, and TTH for their support on Patreon. Bye!